I've always believed in love. The kind that sweeps you off your feet and makes you feel like the world was created just for you. I thought I had found that with Richard. At risk, he was charming, gentle, and he knew exactly what to say to make my heart race. My best friend Sonia used to joke that I glowed whenever he walked into a room. Now that I think about it, maybe that glow was more of a warning than a sign of happiness. I remember the day he proposed like it was yesterday. Candlelights, violinists, a rooftop view of the city, everything a girl like me would dream of. I said yes, without hesitation. I loved him, and I trusted Sonia completely when she screamed and hugged me, saying she was so happy for me. I should have known something was off. The way her eyes lingered on him too long, the way he smiled at her when he thought I wasn't looking. But love makes you blind, deaf, and a little bit stupid. Everything came crashing down 2 weeks before our wedding. I had gone over to Richard's apartment unannounced. I had planned a cute surprise, a little dinner for two, candles, his favorite wine. But as I approached the door, I heard voices. I paused, smiling, ready to knock until I heard my name. "She's so gullible," Richard's voice said, followed by a soft chuckle. "You're really going to go through with the wedding?" Sonia asked. Her voice made my stomach twist. I leaned closer. "Her father is a billionaire, remember? Once I get that access to her shares and assets, we vanish. Just you and me, baby." I didn't realize I had dropped the wine bottle until I saw the red liquid pooling at my feet. There was silence inside. Then footsteps. I ran. Didn't stop until I reached my car. I locked the doors, heart racing, hands shaking. Tears streamed down my face, blinding me. My whole world gone. My heart shattered. That night, I told my father everything. My dad, Chief Okonkwo, didn't say much. He just stared at me with those sharp eyes that had built an empire. Then, he picked up the phone and made 2 calls. Next morning, both Richard and Sonia were arrested. Apparently, my dad had been suspicious of Richard for months. He had just been waiting for proof. I didn't attend the court hearing. I didn't want to see their faces. I didn't want apologies. What I wanted was to disappear. I told my father I needed time. He understood. He always did. "Fine," he said, "but let's do it properly." And that's how the plan began. We changed my name legally for a while. To avoid attention, my father rented a small apartment for me in town, far from the shiny gates of our estate. He got me a job as a waitress in one of his smaller restaurants, one where no one knew who I really was. And just like that, the billionaire's daughter became a ghost. The first few weeks were the hardest. The apartment was small, noisy, and nothing like home. I missed my big bed. I missed the security guards. I even missed my closet. Pain changes you. And I needed this. The restaurant was busy and full of life. I met people from all walks of life. Mothers, students, hustlers. They all had stories, struggles. Somehow, being around them helped me heal. Learned how to serve food with a smile, how to budget my little salary, how to take a bus without feeling afraid. Learned how to be invisible. And it felt good. Until that one night, I was walking home from a long shift. It was already dark, and the streetlights in my area were mostly broken. I held my bag close and walked fast. Then I heard footsteps behind me. "Fine girl, where you dey rush go?" a voice said from the shadows. My heart jumped. 2 men stepped out from a corner, both reeking of alcohol. Abig make we escort you, and the taller one said, laughing. I turned to run, but they blocked me. Then suddenly someone stepped in. "Leave her alone," a deep voice shouted. It was a man. Not too tall, not muscular, but firm, confident. He pushed the guys away, shielding me. They tried to fight him, but he stood his ground until they ran off. I was shaking. Thank you. He smiled. "You're safe now. Are you okay?" I nodded, trying not to cry. His name was Daniel. He walked me home that night, just to make sure I got there safely. He didn't ask for my number. He didn't even flirt. He just wanted to help, and that made me want to see him again. Fate, as usual, did its magic. He came to the restaurant a week later, looking for work. He was polite, soft-spoken, and from the way he held his CV, you could tell he was desperate. "I just graduated, but finding work has been tough," he told the manager. "I'm willing to do anything, even cleaning." They didn't hire him, but I remembered him. "Daniel?" I called after him as he walked out. He turned, surprised. "You work here?" he asked. Smiled, sort of. Want to have lunch with me? That lunch turned into another meeting, then another, and slowly, I let him into my world, the little fake world I had built. I didn't tell him who I was. I told him I was just Zara, a girl trying to survive. Didn't care about my past. He cared about who I was. He would bring me small gifts, Sakara from the roadside, fruits he got cheap from the market. He was honest, real, different. I sat on the floor of my tiny apartment, talking about dreams. He wanted to be a systems analyst. He studied computer science but couldn't find a good job. I encouraged him to keep trying. Then one day, he showed up, breathless and excited. Zara, guess what? I applied for a job at this tech firm, Okonkwo Holdings. They have a vacancy for junior developers, and I got it. I froze. My father's company. My heart skipped. You got the job. Yes. He hugged me. I start next week. I smiled, even though my stomach was doing flips. That's amazing. We celebrated with boiled yam and palm oil that night. Simple, but perfect. A few months into his job, he looked at me one evening and said, Zara, I want to marry you. My heart stopped. I know I don't have much, he continued, but I love you, and I want to meet your family. I didn't answer right away. How could I? How do you tell a man who thinks you're poor that your father owns the building he's working in? That night, I called my dad and told him everything. I expected him to be angry, but instead, he laughed. So the boy is honest. Yes, Daddy, and you love him. I do, he sighed. Bring him home. I was nervous for days. I didn't know how to tell Daniel. I didn't know how he'd react, but eventually, I said it. My father wants to meet you. He smiled, unaware of what was coming. Finally, I've been waiting for this moment. He had no idea he was walking straight into a mansion, and I had no idea what would happen next. The day Daniel came to see my father, it rained. Not the soft kind of rain that gently taps your window. No, this was loud, angry rain, as if the sky itself was warning me that the moment we were walking into would change everything. I had never been this nervous before. Daniel wore his best shirt, a white one with a tiny blue stain near the sleeve, which he tried to hide under his blazer. He even bought flowers, the kind you buy from roadside vendors, wrapped in nylon and newspaper. I held his hand the whole drive, my heart pounding louder than the wipers hitting the windshield. He had no idea we were headed to a mansion when we turned into the estate. He frowned. Wait, your father lives here. This guy nodded, avoiding his eyes. I thought you said your dad was just a retired teacher, he said, laughing nervously. I swallowed hard. Daniel, I need to tell you something, but it was too late. The gates opened, and there it was, the house. Big, bold, proud, lights glowing even in the rain, guards standing by, and cars that cost more than a year's rent parked neatly in front. Daniel froze. Zara, what's going on? I stepped out of the car, my heels sinking slightly into the wet ground. I'm sorry, I whispered. I wanted to tell you. I was going to, but I didn't know how. He didn't move. Zara, who are you? I turned to him, heart in my throat. I'm the daughter of Chief Okonkwo. This is my home. That job you got. It's in my father's company. He looked at me like I was a stranger. You lied to me, he said quietly. I didn't lie. I just hid the truth. He laughed bitterly. That's the same thing. I reached out, but he stepped back. Daniel, please. I needed to know that someone could love me without the money, without the name. I've been hurt before, deeply. I just wanted something real. He stared at me for a long time. Then he shook his head and walked away. I watched him go. I didn't cry. Not immediately. I just stood there, under the pouring rain, letting it soak me to the skin. Inside, my father was waiting. When he saw me, he didn't ask what happened. He just opened his arms, and I broke. For days, Daniel didn't call. I didn't message him either. I didn't want to beg, but every night, I stared at my phone, hoping it would ring. It didn't, until, one morning 2 weeks later, I had just finished breakfast when one of the guards came to tell me someone was at the gate. I went outside, and there he was. Daniel. He looked tired. His beard had grown out a little. He held nothing. Just himself. I didn't come for your money, he said, even before I spoke. I came because I loved you. I stepped closer. Do you still? He looked at me, eyes soft. I tried not to. I tried to hate you, but I couldn't. I'm sorry, I said, voice shaking. I was scared. I thought if you knew who I was, you'd treat me differently. He nodded. I get it now. But next time, don't hide. Don't run. I smiled through my tears. There won't be a next time. He reached for my hand. Then, let's start again. This time, with no lies. We walked into the house together. My father was waiting again, but this time, with a wide grin. Welcome, son, he said to Daniel. We have a lot to talk about. The weeks that followed felt like a dream. My father took to Daniel almost immediately. He loved that Daniel was driven, humble, and smart. They would talk for hours about business, tech, life. One Sunday afternoon, as we sat in the garden, my father pulled me aside. He's a good man, he said. Not many like him these days. I nodded. I know. When is the wedding? I laughed. Soon, Daddy, very soon. Daniel and I decided to keep things small. We didn't want anything grand or dramatic, just a quiet engagement ceremony with close family and friends. Nothing fancy, nothing fake, but life, as always, has a sense of humor. A few days before our traditional introduction, Daniel came home with a strange expression. You won't believe who I saw today at the office. Who? I asked, pouring juice into a glass. Richard. The name hit me like cold water. But, he's a gardener now. He works on the landscaping crew. I slowly set the glass down. You're sure? Daniel nodded. He didn't recognize me, but I recognized him. For a moment, I was silent. I guess karma really does work, I whispered. Daniel came close, wrapped his arms around me. Let the past stay in the past, Zara. We have something better now. And we did. The day of our wedding came faster than I expected. It was simple, beautiful, and pure. We held it in my father's private garden, the same garden I used to sit in as a little girl, dreaming of a love I wasn't sure I'd ever find. There were no gold-plated chairs or celebrities, just laughter, joy, and the kind of peace I hadn't felt in years. I wore a dress made by a local designer. Daniel wore a native agbada, tailored with love. My father gave a speech that made everyone cry, including Daniel. I once thought money could protect my daughter from heartbreak, he said. But today, I've learned that love is the greatest protection of all. Later that night, after everyone had gone and the house was quiet, Daniel and I sat on the balcony, looking out into the sky. Thank you for finding me, I said. He smiled, kissing my hand. Thank you for letting me. I rested my head on his shoulder. Just like that, everything made sense again. It's funny how life writes its own full circle. One moment, you're standing in front of betrayal, shattered by the people you trusted the most. The next, you're standing in front of love, honest, humble, and breathtakingly real. After our small wedding ceremony, I moved out of my father's estate and into a new home Daniel and I picked together. My father gifted it to us, a quiet, cozy duplex in a peaceful area of town. Not because it was grand, but because it was ours. No staff, no maids, just Daniel, me, and the life we were building together. For the first time, I felt like I was living for myself, not for my family name, not for expectations. Just for us. Daniel continued working in my father's company. He didn't want special treatment, and my dad respected that. He started as a junior developer and slowly worked his way up. He was the same man who used to sit in my tiny apartment, sharing akara and dreams. Only now, his shirts were neater, his confidence stronger, and his future brighter. But what truly made me fall deeper in love with him wasn't his growth, it was how he never changed at heart. He still brought me roasted corn on rainy evenings, still opened doors for older women, still prayed quietly before every meal. He didn't care that I was Zara Okonkwo, the billionaire's daughter. He just loved me. One day, I came home from a work meeting to find him sitting on the floor, surrounded by papers, diagrams, and drawings. What are you doing? I asked, laughing as I dropped my bag. He looked up, smiling wide. I've been working on something. I sat next to him. Tell me. I want to start my own tech company, he said softly. I've learned a lot from your dad's company, but I think I'm ready. My heart swelled with pride. I think you are too. He didn't ask me for money. Not once. He didn't even mention it. He wanted to build it from the ground up with the little he had saved. I offered anyway, not as a billionaire's daughter, but as his wife, as his partner. And so, we built it together. We named the company Real Bite Solutions. It stood for everything we believed in: real effort, real dreams, real love. In a year, it grew beyond our imagination. Clients started pouring in. Daniel became the face of it, and I managed the behind the scenes. I didn't need the spotlight. Watching him thrive was more than enough for me. One Saturday afternoon, We were invited to a youth empowerment conference where Daniel was asked to speak. I sat quietly in the audience, beaming with pride as he stood on stage. He shared his story from being jobless, to working odd jobs, to meeting a stranger who turned out to be the love of his life. I blushed when people looked at me. He ended his talk with a simple message, greater than sometimes. You think life is unfair because things aren't happening the way you planned. But maybe, just maybe, life is guiding you to something better, something deeper, something real. The applause was thunderous. After the event, as we stepped outside, a voice called out, "Zara." I turned. It was Sonia. She looked completely different, thinner, tired, her once glamorous appearance gone. I hadn't seen her since the arrest, and I didn't know she had been released. She walked up to me slowly. "I just wanted to say I'm sorry," she said. "I've lost everything. My family doesn't speak to me. I can't find a job. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I needed to say it." For a moment, I didn't know what to say. Then I simply replied, "I've forgiven you. A long time ago." She blinked, stunned. "You have?" "Yes, but forgiving doesn't mean forgetting. We just move on." She nodded, tears in her eyes, then turned and walked away. Daniel took my hand. "Are you okay?" I looked at him and smiled. "I am now." Months passed, and we grew stronger. Real Bite Solutions opened its second office. We sponsored tech scholarships for underprivileged youths. We adopted a puppy. We laughed more. We prayed more. We loved more. And then came the most beautiful surprise. I was standing in the kitchen one morning when I felt dizzy. At first, I thought it was stress, but something told me to take a test. And there it was. 2 pink lines. I stared at the result for what felt like hours. When I finally told Daniel, he didn't speak. He just lifted me in the air and twirled me around like a child. "We're going to be parents," he whispered, eyes glassy. "Risk we are," I said, crying into his shoulder. 9 months later, we welcomed a baby girl. We named her Zara, a blend of both our names. She had Daniel's eyes and my stubborn smile. She completed us in a way I never thought possible. One evening, while I rocked her to sleep, Daniel sat beside me and said, "You know, sometimes I still can't believe this is my life." I smiled. "Believe it. We earned it." He nodded, slowly. "Thank you for not giving up on love, on us." I leaned my head on his shoulder. "Thank you for proving love still exists." A few years later, at Real Bite's 5th anniversary celebration, I stood beside Daniel on stage as we addressed our team. Behind us was a huge screen that read, "Real Bite, built on love, built to last." As we clapped and posed for photos, I glanced at the crowd. In one corner stood my father, proud, smiling, eyes glistening. In another stood young tech graduates we had mentored. And somewhere in the middle, I saw a version of my old self, broken, scared, unsure, but now I was healed, whole, loved, and free. Love is not about riches, but about trust and truth. What is meant for you will find you. Even if you have to walk through fire first, a broken heart can still bloom again if you water it with faith, patience, and purpose. When you protect your peace and wait for the right person, God always rewards you in ways you don't expect.